Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, cap strapped, no high-end talent, and the Flyers sit idle. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Hockey Writers Ink, your Flyers podcast. I'm your host, Lance Green.
And I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. Hey Lance, what's that you're wearing?
This is a nice Hockey Writers Ink t-shirt. Yeah.
Swag.
Available on SteelFlyers.com for purchase.
That's right. $25 plus shipping and handling. $25 plus shipping and handling. Any size, any shape, any flavor, right? You got that heather gray, and we got a black one too, right? So go to SteelFlyers.com and check that out and get a cool t-shirt just like my man Lance is wearing, right? Yeah, buddy. How about that? Ooh, all right, here we go. We are episode 114, okay? And Lance, episode 114, cap strapped, no high-end talent, the Flyers sit idle. And I'm aghast at what is going on with this team at this time of the year. We are at trade deadline time here, folks, and not a peep has come out of the camp of the Flyers other than the future considerations for Isaac Radcliffe. Okay, so with that being said, the great, the awesome, the guardian of the blue paint, the writer extraordinaire, the editor-in-chief of SteelFlyers.com decided we need to put an article out here and kind of highlight some about what's going on. And that's exactly what Lance did here just the other day, posted a home run article to the SteelFlyers.com website and pointing out just what the shortcomings of this current administration and team are. Okay. So Lance, do I have to ask you what the inspiration was for why you wrote this article? No, I don't.
All the trades have been happening, and the Flyers sit idle. Right there, they have to get rid of JVR. It would be great if they could get rid of Kevin Hayes, who they say that's been rumored to be people calling. I don't see a deal. You know, all these teams are out there that are trying to make a push for the playoffs, and they have acquired a lot of talent from a lot of different teams. A lot of those players that have been rumored to be going to be moved have moved. The Chicharans and all that. It's a lot. There's a lot of people moved, and the Flyers have nothing. Future considerations for a AHL failure in Isaac Radcliffe. So
gives you the warm fuzzies, doesn't it?
Not good. So many teams. Like you said, the Flyers are cap strapped, so they can't take on any bad salary and get any compensation for that, like the Arizona Coyotes have done with so many times now.
Right.
And
or
yet again this year.
Be that third intermediary team, like the deal that happened with Patrick Kane, where Arizona took on 25% of his salary cap, right? And they got a 4th round draft pick out of that, right? Well, the Flyers can't even do that.
They can't do that. They can't even get anybody to sniff around on any of our current players enough to try to knock out a deal. The Flyers sit idle, like the article says. Chuck Fletcher is comfortable sitting back as all these trades keep happening. All of these bottom-dwelling teams, the Chicagos, the Blue Jackets, the Coyotes, the St. Louis Blues have made a lot of big trades. The Predators made a lot of big trades. The Capitals have made trades. Red Wings have made some trades. They're not even like really bottom dwellers. They're doing okay, but they still managed to get rid of some people that they didn't feel they needed to gain some future assets. And the Flyers have yet to make a substantial trade. They still have people out there. They still have a day left, but who's really going to come calling, paying them top dollar when all of these guys, all of these teams have went out and bettered themselves and given away a multitude of first-round picks, second-round picks, thirds, fourths for all of these players. There's not enough picks to go around, guys. Like, you got to jump at the bit. And instead of Chuck Fletcher really going out and trying to pick up the phone and sell his guys, like we talked about on the last show, he's sat back and is letting them supposedly come to him. I'm sorry, but your players for the past couple of years are not worthy of teams come calling and begging you to trade them to their teams. They're not that. I mean, they're the Columbus Blue Jackets and Chicago and all these teams worse off than us. Coyotes have managed to get deals done and have amazing, trade assets or draft compensation back already for years to come. 24, 25, 23 year draft. They're good. They got multiple picks now in the top 3 rounds for players that were just going to be free agents at the end of this year anyway.
I mean, this speaks volumes that the Columbus Blue Jackets were able to unload Jakub Voracek's salary to the Arizona Cardinals, even though sadly, he probably won't play ever again because of the concussions.
Right. That's but $8.25 million that they were able to. They didn't retain anything,
and they got a 3rd-round pick in return for that. Now, we have players that are at least not on the injured reserve list. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, here's the thing, right? So Fletcher came out the other day, had a press conference, and you mentioned a lot of things that were even going on during the time that you wrote the article. Like all the moves that were going on when you were writing the article, like, okay, this guy's off the board, boom. Okay, this guy's off the board, boom, right? So in the press conference the other day, Chuck came out and said, hey, this team needs high-end talent. Yeah. There's a revelation for you, right? And they would also like to be sellers at the trade deadline. Okay. Great. Those are all great things to say, but have we followed up on any of that? I mean, I don't know about you, but everybody keeps saying, oh yeah, they have till Friday. So let me ask you this question then. How is it that almost 70% of the league felt that they needed to get a deal done before the trade deadline? And we're not talking about, waiver wire type guys here. We're not talking about, bottom 6 guys or anything like that. We're talking about Patrick Kane's and we're O'Reilly's and look, I'm not expecting.
We'll go through that in a little bit. Yeah.
Right. I'm not expecting the Flyers to be picking up this high-end talent right now.
No.
You can't. You have to do something more important, and that is draft capital. Okay? Seriously, you're not going to be able to rebuild a team, even if you want to call it a fast rebuild or whatever you want to call it. You still can't do that with free agents because clearly the free agents that you brought in aren't even quite working out. You know what I'm saying?
They didn't bring any free agents in this
Well, no,
past
but what I'm
season
saying
that
is
was
like
worth anything. Yeah,
they brought in Tony
prior to.
D'Angelo, right? Which I mean, he is what he is, right? He played on a really good team that helped him to look good, right? You can't hang it all on that guy, but he is what he is. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The
Well, they got a
Ellis,
good defensive system. Yeah,
right? The
Kings
Ellis,
do.
the whole Ellis thing, the whole the whole camp. Atkinson. Do you know what I'm saying? All these quote unquote guys that were brought in that were supposed to be this high end talent just hasn't panned out to be that.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you hand out huge contracts to Sean Couturier, who's been hurt multiple years in a row, and yet again he's hurt this season and hasn't played a game one, but you make him the highest paid Flyer. You go back to Sanheim deal where you overpaid him early, a year earlier than you had to, and you give him $6 million+ a season. That's, I believe, starts next season. Like, there's just a lot of crazy money spent where it shouldn't have been, and that's where now they're cap strapped again, and they can't move these deals because nobody's going to even want to pay half of it, even if the Flyers retained half of the salary, and that's why they haven't bid on guys like Kevin Hayes who have 2 years left or something like that yet. A couple of years left on his deal. Nobody wants to pay it.
I mean, that's my my whole second point here is the fact that this team is so cap strapped that they're not going to be able to do anything because they're not even going to even be able to re-sign any of their own because they don't have any of the money that's there. You know what I mean? Right now, Philadelphia is projected to have this much in cap space with $4.6 million in long-term IR. Okay, that's according to Cap Friendly. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but first of all, they need a backup goaltender. They need a number 2 center. They need a top 4 defenseman, right-hand shot preferably, that can also be quarterback or second-team quarterback of the power play. There's too many holes and there's clearly not enough money. Do you know what I mean? And it's based off of exactly what you just said, Lance. These deals that were made, the overpayment of Provorov, the overpayment of Sanheim, the overpayment of Ristolainen, okay? The amount of money that you gave to Tony D'Angelo, the amount of money that you gave to Del Saros. No other team out there is doing that, yet you think that that's a good idea. So now this sets up the perfect storm scenario for the Flyers, and this is exactly why I think they're sitting idle. Because number one, they have no cap, so they can't take on any contracts or salaries, right? But here's the other part. It's just exactly what you said. Nobody wants to take on the Sanheim contract because there's no movement clause and all that other stuff, because that he probably won't be able to do that unless it's a, whatever. There's too many non-movement clauses that are on the Flyers teams now with these big contracts that were handed out. So now you can't even move any of them, right? But now you're paying them all this money. Okay. That's the sad part. Okay. Because now we can't even get rid of expiring contracts, right? We have an expiring contract in JVR. Okay. And according to the collective bargaining agreement, the Philadelphia Flyers would be responsible for retaining half of his salary. Well, the remaining part of his salary right now is only $3 million at this point in time in the season. They've already paid him almost all his. Do you see what I'm trying to get at here? The fact that some team, a contending team out there, could look at JVR and go, hey, this guy's only going to be a couple mil. He's not going to really cost us anything. His contract's going to expire. We don't have to worry about re-signing him, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Hey, all right. Well, let's see what we can get for him. We can't even do that. The Flyers cannot even get rid of an expiring contract that has dwindling money on both books, right?
Yeah. I mean, they could retain 50% of that as well.
Well, they have to. They have to, according to the CBA.
Yeah. So it's just crazy in my mind. I mean, when you look at, what Chicago has done, you can go down the list and to what these teams that are sellers, right, are doing right now. Chicago, they just traded Max Domi to the Stars. They're going to get something back. Yeah. They're going to get something back for him. He's an expiring UFA. Patrick Kane, of course, went to the Rangers. They got a 2023 conditional second, a 2025 fourth. They sent defenseman Jake McCabe to the Leafs. Got a conditional 2025 first. They got a 2026 second. They sent Jack Johnson back to the Avs. Got somebody for him. They took on a Senators player. And got a 2023 second and a 2026 fourth for doing that, so that the Sens could make a move, because they were worse off than us last year. And somehow they managed to be, not great with 64 points in the standings, but they're definitely in the mix for a wild card right now.
I mean, it's crazy. The fact that, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you keep going. The Blue Jackets, they traded Nyquist today for a 5th-round pick. Something as simple as that, just drafting, getting those late-round picks, and you can combine them up later and return it into maybe a third or something, They sent out Korpisalo, and, they got a 2023 first, a 2023 third, deal, and Jonathan Quick, which they turned around and sold to the Golden Knights.
Right.
They got rid of Voracek's salary, $8.25 million of Voracek's salary, which, is unfathomable. They didn't even retain any of that, and were able to shed themselves of that much salary so that they can now go out this free agency and spend money. It's just crazy.
It's like you could just keep rattling off. Look, you got pages worth of stats there, right?
Yeah, let's go. Coyotes. Nick Bustad. They got a 2023 third-round pick. Chicharin. They got a 2023 first, 24th second round, and a second round in 26.
Yeah, they got a haul for
that's a first and two seconds, right? Ghost, they got a third-round pick for him. He's got some points, but he's still a minus.
A third-round pick.
Right. A third-round pick's pretty solid. The Blues, they went out and got rid of two big names there in Tarasenko. They got a 2023 first and a 24 fourth for him. They got O'Reilly. They got a haul for him where they got a 2023 first, 2023 third, and a 2024 second for him. So they're loaded up for the future. You can keep going. The Predators, the Caps, they all got multiple firsts, multiple seconds for the players that they got rid of. And they're setting themselves up for those early round draft picks to rebuild through the draft. And the Flyers can't do that because, they don't have multiple picks. Like, you better hope, which hasn't been the success in the past, that one first round pick that you get is going to stick. it's a lot easier to land a star player when you got 3 or 4 chances at it.
I mean, hello,
Rounds, right?
it only bodes well that the more chances you have at drafting in the early rounds, the better are your chances of getting a good, decent player that's going to be able to improve and help and be part of your club that in the long run. Do you know what I'm saying? Now, so after you wrote your article and I read your article and I was like, man, let me do some digging in here and let me find out some stuff. Okay. So, I did actually wanted to find out what was going on here with the cap and with where the Flyers were and everything. And excuse me a second here, I got a quick little tickle. Excuse me. So here you go. Check this out, right? Currently, right now, the team has 1 first-round draft pick for this upcoming draft, 2023.
Right.
1 first round, 2 third-round draft picks. One of them is conditional. 2 fourth-round draft picks, a 5th, 6th, and a 7th. Right? No second round in there at all. Right? Next year, they don't have a second round either. And they have the conditional first round that they got from Giroux. Right? So that would give them 2 for first round draft picks, but the condition on the Florida draft pick is that if it's in the top 10, then it's not then it has to be a different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what the Flyers have right now currently lined up for them as far as draft picks. And then you look at teams like Chicago, Detroit, Seattle, and all these other St. Louis, right, and all these other teams, Montreal, getting huge returns for even mediocre players. Look, I understand that Chicago had Patrick Kane. I understand that St. Louis had Tarasenko and O'Reilly. I understand that there were some big names that went. But there were a lot of things that weren't big names that were able to garner first round, second round draft picks, is what we're trying to get at here. So with the limited number of draft picks, so that's 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got 8 draft picks in this upcoming draft. 8. Only 1 in the top round, and then the rest are the 3rd and the 4th round is where the meat of their draft is. I'm here to tell you guys, when you're drafting in the 3rd or 4th round, I don't care if you're the first one in the 3rd or 4th round. The chances of you getting a good player compared to the 1st and 2nd round are significantly decreased.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking about the Blackhawks. They're looking at this year. They're going to have 2 firsts as it stands right now. They have 4 seconds and 2 thirds, and then a 4th, 5th, and a 7th. Like, that's a lot of picks to be made in the early rounds. You know that.
I don't care about those 5th, 6th, and 7th rounds.
That's how you rebuild.
I mean, that's how you rebuild. What about Detroit? Detroit's got multiple picks. Seattle's got multiple picks, right? We just talked about Chicago. St. Louis has got multiple picks. Arizona is going to have multiple picks, right? LA is going to have some picks. Anaheim's going to have some picks. I mean, I don't get it. I'm just rattling off all these teams and.
Yeah, Red Wings 2 firsts, 3 seconds, a 3rd. That's a lot of people.
Seattle is
and these teams do it every year. Yeah, these teams do it every year, and they manage to get rid of it if they're not successful, and they manage to get rid of the players that they need to do so. Seattle's got a 1st and then 3 seconds and a 3rd. Pretty darn good. You're going to have multiple picks to land that guy that is going to be substantial. And instead of just hitting it one person in a round, they got 3 or 4. You're gonna hit it more often and land that big name player and turn your team around if you do that. The Flyers don't want to build through the draft, and they are so cap strapped they can't sign free agents. So how do they expect to get better? I don't know. And their development sucks. Their development team process and everything like that. They expect, the NCAA and the SHL and all these other leagues all around the world to develop their talent for them, and to the point that they are ready to step on the NHL ice, instead of utilizing the AHL to be able to get them in, learn the team systems, and play together and develop together. Once they're signed, they still have them play all over the world because they can't develop their own talent. It's just a mess. This team is a mess. And it's really, really frustrating.
Yeah. It's hard. It makes it even hard to cover the team too, because, they come out and say, yeah, we want the Phantoms to make a run and, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. But and you're talking about development, and you understand, and people don't understand, well, where's the disconnect? Well, the disconnect is that the Phantoms are not running the same system that the Flyers are running. So whenever you see a guy come up from the Phantoms, it takes them a couple of games to get used to what's going on. You can see it, right? Unless have been called up before. If they've been called up before, then they get it, right? But if they've the first time they get called up, it takes them a minute because they're running a completely different system. I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you're trying to tell me that you're going to sacrifice the trade deadline right now so that the Phantoms can make a Calder Cup run? Is that what I understand that to be? I mean, I don't understand that. Okay. Here's some more fun for you. Some more fun facts, right? The UFAs and the RFAs for the Flyers for this coming season. So the end of this season is going to come, right? The end of April or, the beginning of May. And right now, with obviously the JVR's expiring contract, and Patrick Brown and Justin Braun are all UFAs. Those are the only 3, right? Now, I don't know about you, but of the UFAs and JVR, Patrick Brown, and Justin Braun are your UFAs. Wow, man, who's calling for those guys? Nobody. I mean, nobody's even calling for Justin Braun now because he hasn't played hardly at all this year, right? Because he doesn't fit into Tortorella's system. Here's another huge list of RFAs for us, right? Bellows, Noah Cates, Morgan Frost, Lixell, and Cam York. They all are RFAs at the end of the year, which means that the Flyers have first crack at re-signing them. But Cam York is on that list. Cam York is on that list. Noah Cates is on that list. Okay? Morgan Frost, Bellows, Lixell. You can't even wrap any of these guys up because, well, I mean, or why can't you wrap up one of these guys or a couple of these guys in a trade or a deal or so? I mean, I did that because I wanted to break down, because you broke down what was going on in your article as far as, those kinds of things. But I wanted to break this down as far as, all right, this is our UFAs, this is our RFAs, and with the limited number of picks and the RFAs and the UFAs that the Flyers have, it completely does not surprise me one little bit why the Flyers are sitting idle at this trade deadline time right now.
Well, I mean, I can't even fathom some of their thought processes when I heard the team was getting calls about Nick Seeler, a 29-year-old defenseman like I said in my article, and they were reluctant to trade him. Why? Why? He's a third pairing defenseman. He's very useful. He's very physical. Uh, I
Yeah,
like him.
like him. Yeah.
But if somebody's calling about somebody like that, when you have uh, two essential defensemen that could step up and fill his role right now, and Ronnie, who went to the All-Star game in the AHL,
Yep. Ronnie
and
Atard.
Zumala,
Mm-hmm.
and Zumala as well, who could step up and play that role and learn and progress, and hopefully make the
Wow.
NHL
What do you
roster next
know?
year, give them a
Hey.
shot. Like, why wouldn't you want to trade Nick Still? I don't care if it was for a fourth round pick, fifth round pick. Trade them and get something. Sell these guys. And going back to Cam York, where you have a restricted free agent in Cam York who's progressing. He looks okay this year. Granted that he's being forced to play his non
His
uh,
natural
his
position. Yeah.
non-dominant side, his not natural position or non-dominant side, and he's being made to play right side because the team doesn't have any defensemen that play right, and he's excelling at that as well. So, but but you got to think about it. He was drafted in the first round. He's progressing, but how much can he actually develop when you got over $13 million in salary wrapped up in Provorov and Sanheim sitting in front of him? Are you going to sit one of those players so that this guy can, play? I would say you need to be moving Provorov right now. There's plenty of teams calling about defensemen. LA wanted, a defenseman. Why isn't he gone? A lot of teams have picked up, some defensemen and paid dearly for them, and they're not even as good as Provorov. When you could retain 50% of his salary and still have $3 or $4 million to play with in free agency that you didn't have before, or you could use that to re-sign Cam York to take that spot and move forward with the team.
Or you could have used some of that money to maybe offer Sam Harrison an entry level contract or a bridge deal to be the second or be the backup goalie or whatever, or you know what I'm saying, that kind of thing, because this team has holes and it has needs and there's a lot of things out there. And look, that's how you rebuild your franchise. You have to do it through the draft. You cannot unless you're like, if you were like Arizona and suddenly they have all this money to spend, but they can't spend it because nobody wants to come there, right? So it's like, well, that's sad when you can offer a player whatever they want as far as money wise, and they still ain't going to come there and play. And that's what I think is going on here in Philadelphia too, right? There's no promise of the future. There's no aspirations of, hey, look at the prospects that they have coming up through the system that, man, I would be excited and want to go play there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just not hearing that about the Flyers. You're not seeing that about the Flyers. They don't have the draft picks. They don't have you know what I'm saying? They don't have that on the horizon thing. You know what I'm saying?
They don't have an amazing direction so far, and I think Tortorella is doing his best, but I mean, what can he do with what he has on that roster right now?
I mean,
everybody who's anything is hurt, but really, like you said, why isn't Patrick Brown going already? Your UFA should been going already. You keep hearing about Kevin Hayes being traded, possibly. That would be great, but they're going to have to retain salary on that. Where's that deal?
What?
If you're gonna tear down the team, tear down the team. They've been trying to trade James Van Riemsdyk for the past 3 seasons at the deadline or at the draft, and nobody wants him. The guy skates he's better this year, but he skates like he's got cement blocks on his feet. He's only getting older. He doesn't have that net front presence that he once did in Toronto anymore. So what are you going to do? Like you said, Justin Braun, he said he wants to go to a contender, but who the heck wants him? You know, they backed themselves into the corner here, the Flyers have, and they're not fighting their way out of it right now. They're not attempting to fight their way out of it. They're not getting creative. They're not, who knows what they're doing behind the scenes right now, or how much Chuck is actually forcing to try to do something. But when you see him at the press conference and you hear what's coming out of his mouth, he acts like he's okay with just sitting on his hands until the last minute of the trade deadline, and somebody's going to call in and give him some bogus fifth-round pick for somebody because they know, hey, if you don't trade this guy now, you're not going to get anything for him at all. So here you go. It's like a consolation prize after all the first, second, third-round picks and, promising prospects that have been traded already earlier in this week. I can't stand this team sitting idle. There's no direction. I think a lot of fans are just frustrated. And if this trade deadline actually goes by and they don't at least get a third-round pick for James Van Riemsdyk, I think Chuck Fletcher should be fired right on the spot. I mean, I think he should have been a long time ago, but if you don't get your unrestricted free agents out, I mean, you need to sell James Van Riemsdyk. He led the Flyers in goals last year. Like, he has some qualities that teams will want, but yet you just sit on your hands and you're not getting deals done. And if he is trying, then that's a lot better than what he's proposing he's doing, but what he's been saying he's waiting to do. But you're obviously not effective at it if you are been out there trying and making the calls and not getting anything done. So
I just got one thing to say. Actions speak louder than words.
Hey, Philly spring training starting. That's been exciting. Trey Turner looks good. That's all I gotta say.
The Sixers have been playing good and are making a push for the playoffs, right? Hey, all right. Right. I was texting Jimmy the other day, right? And we were talking about that. And I told him, I said, oh my gosh, man, what is up with. So the other night the Flyers played and the game was not on. For whatever reason, the game was not available for the Flyers and the Rangers. And no, actually, it was a competitive game. But, of course, the Flyers did their typical, at the end of the game and give up the turnover. No, give up the turnover, and then, boom, there it is. And the overtime goal, and then, But the fact that they took the Rangers to overtime. Okay. But so we were texting back and forth, and he was like, "Yeah, that's not a good look. The fact that game was not available." Okay, so
tell me how Comcast owns this team, but they don't have all their games being showed on
Comcast.
I can watch pretty much every single Phillies game.
See,
I can tune in to see pretty much every single Sixers game.
Yeah.
They have this great deal, so they say, with ESPN and stuff now, the NHL, but and you got games on, trying to be like the NFL with Amazon Prime and Hulu hosting games and all this stuff, but it's just a crock of crap. I shouldn't have to do all that after paying $200 and some for cable to watch this team play, and then I got to go buy all 5 different apps so that I can watch them
and subscribe to a whole bunch of different others.
Yeah,
streaming services. Just I remember when I could turn on the TV because I had Comcast cable, and I could turn on TV, and it was on 2 channels. Right, you would watch Michael Barkan every night at 6:00, right? And he would be on, and then you'd see the Orange Line would come on. You know what I'm saying? And then Pregame would come on, and then the game would come on, right? And it was like every single game, with the exception of the national games. Like all the games that were on the national networks were the only games that were not on were not on Comcast.
But you still were able to see them every game.
Every game, yeah, you still were able to see. Yeah, that's not the case anymore now. And you're right, Lance. It's not worth to pay to watch this team.
Not for this team.
It's just not. And I'm really hopeful that the new CEO that is coming in here to replace Dave Scott, I'm really.
He's replacing him. He's still going to be.
Yeah, he is replacing him. Okay, but he is replacing him as CEO.
CEO, yes.
Right, which means that he'll be the one making those types of decisions like, hey, we should fire Chuck. We should, those kinds of things.
I still think, I don't know about that, because I think Dave Scott still holds, the Flyers. He's still running the Flyers, the governor of the Flyers.
Well, for right now, I think so. Until I think there's a date that they're going to have or something like that. But like I said, I hope the incoming guy has a much better passion for the game and wants to try to win more with good players and a good team instead of just trying to do it through mediocrity and hey, you're still showing a profit, but yet the team still stinks.
Yeah. So and I think that's on the fans too. You want to go and you want to watch these guys play, but I think you need to hit them where it hurts and not show up and buy these tickets and let them play those empty arenas, make it look like COVID days again in there, and maybe they'll get the hint when nobody's buying the soda, nobody's buying the pretzels, the hot dogs, the pizza, whatever, in that thing. Nobody's buying the jerseys going to games.
Oh no, now it's just a home arena now for other teams.
Then you look like the Arizona Coyotes playing with about 5,000 people in the stadium.
I mean, when your stadium is filled with the opposition's other colors more than your colors, that's a problem. That's a problem. Look, we say these things because we care. We say these things because we cover this team and we want to see this team do better. We see that there are paths forward for this team to do, take, and make to get better, but they are, for whatever reason, not making those moves, not opening those doors, not taking those opportunities. That's why it's so frustrating to cover this team, and that's why, as a fan, it's so frustrating to watch this team. Okay? All I got to say is thank God for Jimmy and for Jonesy for calling them games, because, man, another year. It's tough when your team isn't winning, and it's tough. And, man, I got to tell you, them guys are consummate professionals, man. I still enjoy, listening to them guys call the games no matter how horrible the team is playing.
Yeah. I hope Chuck proves us wrong tomorrow and he lays out 3 or 4 deals, but I don't see it happening. And if he does, it's going to be I don't know what picks or what he can get, because everybody's exchanged everything already. You look online and there's pages and pages and pages of deals that have already been made at this deadline.
Exactly. And none of them say Philadelphia.
Every playoff contender, you look, the Avalanche have made trades, Golden Knights have made trades, Stars have made trades, Winnipeg has made trades, the Devils, Lightning, Leafs, Carolina.
You can't tell me that any one of those teams, like specifically Carolina or Toronto or even Edmonton.
Edmonton's making trades.
Wait. Would have been calling for Carter Hart. Because think about that for a second. Mm-hmm. He's from there, from Edmonton. Carter Hart is.
Yeah.
They need goaltending badly, right? Send Carter Hart up to Edmonton. Let him play for a contender. Let him play for a team that's got an actual team in front of him. He might actually end up be a better goaltender. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, could you imagine Carter Hart on any one of those teams? Do you know what I'm saying? That I just, to me, that jumps off the page. That just jumps off the page. That should have been one of the first calls that should be made. All right, who wants Carter Hart? Who's giving me what for Carter Hart? I would have been putting that out there day one.
Yeah, I mean, if the Flyers are gonna actually commit to this rebuild, like everybody knows they should, that is a definite name. I mean, is out there. I think you could essentially replace him next year with, somebody that is on free agency, and build back through it. And if you didn't get at least a first, and if not something else for Carter Hart, you're doing something wrong, and you needed to find another job, because I think, as bad as his numbers have been, he's played well at times this year. But I mean, how can anybody's confidence be where it should be to sit there and go through, this year after year of having no defense and,
no offensive support.
No offensive support. You stand on your head. But, again, I don't
giving
think
up, 3.5 goals a game. Hey, all right.
Yeah, that's not a way to succeed there for sure.
Well, listen, Lance, look, we're really trying to just point out what we feel would be the best way to do things going forward. We want to see this team win. We want to see them be successful. And we're just seeing all these paths forward, and we're not seeing them being taken. Do you know what I mean? And so that's what's frustrating. So, Lance, I'll tell you what, man. I think we got a good episode in the books here. What do you think?
We hit on a lot of topics. I mean, I think we, again, as always, we share our frustration that, so many Flyer fans are putting out on, your Twitter, your Facebook groups and all that. It's rough. It's rough. It's a tough time to be a Flyers fan. And
it is.
I think that we need some big changes, like we mentioned. I mean, and I don't think Chuck's the guy to get it done. Obviously,
nope.
He hasn't yet.
No, the fact that he was left in charge for this trade deadline as well, and there's some disconnect going on there. You know what I mean? So, well, listen, we would like to say big, huge props and thank you to Spreaker for putting us out there in all of those podcasting platforms like Apple, like Google, and iHeart. Right? And all you have to do is go to those platforms like that, Spotify and Apple and Google and iHeart, and type in Hockey Writers Ink, and we'll show up. And then all you have to do is hit the subscribe and give us a 5-star rating, and that'll help push us up into the higher category there when you guys are searching for Philadelphia Flyers news and notes, and we'll be there. So for sure. Lance, any new tasty new articles coming out?
Not yet. As far as the Flyers go, I think I'm obviously going to wait till after this trade deadline to put anything else out to see what they actually do or don't do. Yeah. And I think as far as Prospect Watch goes, we might have a name to join us soon. Hopefully, we're trying to make all that line up. So hopefully you'll see something new coming out for us.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait to see that, man. And you also got to go to the SteelFlyers.com website and check out all the latest episodes of course, the Hockey Writers Ink, but also of the Prospect Watch, where we've been doing a series of our top 5 players, our top 5 prospects for each position. So far, we've done centers, wingers, and goaltenders. Got to go check that out. You can go to YouTube, check out the latest video, or you can go to the SteelFlyers.com website to check that out as well, too. Lance, why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can follow you?
Sure. You can find all my stuff at SteelFlyers.com. You can find us on Spreaker and any other audio platform that you want to listen to this to if you don't want to see our smiling faces here. You can follow me on Facebook, all the Flyers groups. I post on to pretty much all of them there. And you can find my stuff on Twitter, as always, or hit me up on there and ask me some questions or see what I think about some stuff at lance.green39.
Awesome sauce, man. I'll tell you what. Thank you, Lance, for all the great articles that you write, and thank you for all the contributions that you make. You are the editor-in-chief, the writer extraordinaire, the great Lance Green. Thank you very much, sir, for all you do at the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. I am the co-host of Hockey Writers Ink. I am SteelFlyers at Twitter. You can find me at SteelFlyers52. You can also find all the great work from everybody, from the Hockey Writers Ink to Prospect Watch to the SteelFlyers podcast to Pearl of Wisdom and to Peyton on the radio at the SteelFlyers All Sports Network. Command Central at SteelFlyers.com. Go check it out. Also, you can get that really cool swag shirt there that Lance is wearing. Yep, $25 plus ship and handling. Go to SteelFlyers.com/shop and pick up that awesome shirt right there. Or you can go to the Hockey Writers Ink page and get that, or you can get it from the homepage as well, too. So pick out your size and get your shirt for sure. Thank you all very much for watching the Hockey Writers Ink. We'll catch you all on the next episode.